Can't even see the clock.
Seven,
Is it even right?
7:06.
7:06 p.m. Welcome everyone. Happy New Year. And we're going to jump to treasurer initially, but we've got to do a roll call because we have Zoom participants. Kristen,
Here.
Jack,
Here.
Ken,
Here.
Sandy,
Here.
Colleen,
Here.
Paul,
Here.
John here, and Justin. Or did
Here.
Okay. So everyone is here. All right, Ken, we will let you start with the treasurer's report.
Okay, so we're moving now with a focus towards fiscal 2026. So I extended the treasurer's report into 2026, and in doing that, I estimated the revenue coming to 2026 the same way that the town accountant Mary Loria and we will do in the coming months before the May annual town meeting. But the numbers that I estimated, I used exactly the same method, so they're going to be very close to what we come up with when we do that. And so I can show them to you tonight. First, I took a look at the progress of state revenue and state matches over the years since inception, and I extended this chart to add the latest years. And you can see them there: 2022, 3, 4, and 5. And I want to say that the 2025 values for surcharge and interest are using the estimation method, which is substantially lower than reality. Everything else up to 2024 shows what happened in reality. And you can see that the blue surcharge revenue is increasing steadily over the years. And the state match has been variable in green. And the interest has also been variable. We had 1 year of very big interest, you might recall, in 2024, with the sort of the yellowish number being quite large. And above the years from 2021 to 2020, from then on, I wrote the actual value of the total revenue for the committee above it. And you can see it went from just over $700,000. It popped to $850,000 almost, then $870,000. And last year, the revenue was very much contributed to by the interest, and it went up to $937,000, a lot. And I would project, I want to note that the difference between the estimated revenue that we make in the spring and the actual revenue that is determined, comes to light and is calculated over a year later in June, in the fall of the following year, has been low by about 20%. The average of the actual revenue over the estimated revenue has been 20% more in the past 5 years. So we should just keep that, we can keep that in our pocket. In that the $784,000 listed there for 2025 is likely to be increased by as much as, by an average of 20% when the books actually close. So I just thought I'd mention that. So you can see the state matches are not very good compared to what they were when there weren't many towns that had the CPA. But nevertheless, we seem to have as much money as we've needed in the past 20 odd years. So I'm going to move on from that and move to the treasurer's report. The rest of the treasurer's report. Okay, I'm going to start with, I think, with 2024. 2024 is complete, and the year's closed, and so we have the actual numbers for 2024. And so you might recall that in the past I've shown that in these yellow columns here are the adjustments that we make that adjust our estimates to reality. And so I guess the key thing here is that the total actual revenue, it was $744,000 compared to the, well, what I don't know.
Wait, what?
Anyway, so this
We
is
don't
it.
have
So
a
this is
copy
what,
of this.
this is the year that
Oh,
closed.
so what he's
And
showing us
summary-
right now, we don't, it didn't get
You
posted.
didn't send this on your treasurer's report, correct?
I did this, you should have, this should be the third page in the treasurer's report that was distributed,
The third page?
the third page.
The
You have
second
2025,
page has-
2026, and no others.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it starts 25
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
26.
you're right, you're right. I meant to start with 2025, or 20, yeah, yeah.
John, just so you know, we can't open
Let me
the
see here.
agenda
One
to
moment.
see any of that.
Oh, okay.
Through the email, but if you went through the town website, it's all on there in the packet and everything like that.
Yeah, if you can find anything on the town website.
Hang on
I
a
can show
second.
you again, it's so easy.
I'll reply to the email for everyone just to have the real agenda page.
Justin, did you have
Okay.
a question that we
I
didn't
apologize,
get
let me
addressed?
apologize. I pulled up the wrong file.
Justin,
I'll
did
get
you
the right file
get your
right here.
question addressed?
It was what you already mentioned about the 2024 not being in the packet.
Okay.
So that was,
Okay.
that was it.
One moment here.
Do you want me to? I'll try to send it to you right now.
Thank you.
Bear with me a moment, please. I'm kind of not at home. I'm in a hotel room in Vermont. And so I'm just a little discombobulated here.
Got canceled.
Okay, hopefully that went through.
John just sent it.
Do you need me to send it to you? Nope. You good?
I can see it.
Good enough.
Yeah, we can share.
And you've got. Okay, and you got it.
It is fairly easy on the website to get to.
Okay.
Justin just sent it too. Thank you, Justin. That worked.
I keep coming up with the wrong thing here. I want to
Do you want to just pull up what's posted in the packet?
I'm trying to get the 2025 one, and I just seem to be getting the wrong one each time.
Can we send it to you?
I'll get it. I guess I'll work with the PDF that I sent you. Okay. All right. Page 2, 2025, fiscal 2025, and I'm going to share it to you right now. Sharing it right. Okay, let's make sure I got the right one. Yeah, okay, here we go. Okay, I just wanted to show you that in 2025, this is the open year. We're done making grants, but the year is still open, and it will, what needs to be done on this going forward is just to pick up the actual revenue when the year ends and we find out what it is. We already know the state match, and we need to pick up the actual interest and the actual administration reserve spent. And so this number, the number which you can see on line 46, I hope you can see that. That number is likely going to go up by, I don't know, $25,000 to $50,000 when the actual amount of revenue is determined, because we always estimate low. And so I guess that's what I wanted, that's the only thing I wanted to say about this. And moving into the in fiscal 2026 is what we would need to pay attention to for the upcoming town meeting. So what I did, as I mentioned, is that I estimated the revenue. I used the state, I estimated the state match by using the very same percentage that we did last year. It was low, 18%. And I estimated the same $20,000 interest that we do every year. It's been more than that lately. And so that adds up to $853,000 of new revenue. So the state matches are 10% of that in lines 5, 6, and 7. In line 8 is the 24,000 that we customarily reserve for administration. And that adds up to 573. And that's what's going to go into the budgeted reserve at this town meeting. We've got some blank lines for the May town meeting grants that we might make. Non-reserve funds coming in, that are coming in from the from last year are currently about $405,000. That number will go up when the year closes in June or in July. Reserved funds, the 10% reserves from prior years, we can see on line 44, 5, and 6. And this is the reserve funds from last year, from the prior year, plus the new reserves for 2026. And for this upcoming town meeting in May, I recommend that we pay the two bonds out of their respective reserves. So lines 48 and 50. The Pell Farm bond is now our payment number 17. 4 more to go. The time flies. It's down now to $57,500 for this coming year. And the One Grafton Common bond is payment number 11 of 20, and it's $73,000.
Let me ask you about the Pell Farm. You said this is going to be payment 17, but it says 17 out of 20. So we have
Yes, go ahead.
we have 3 more years, or we have
3 more years, not including this coming year. So 4 more years from now. Yeah.
okay.
And line, well, I guess it's not numbered. The line between 50 and 49 is the transfer to the Affordable Housing Trust that we do customarily, anticipating that the Affordable Housing Trust will apply for that transfer. When they apply to it, and presuming we approve it, which we always do, that will be the $85,000 353. That is the 10% from fiscal 2026.
When you say apply for it, does the Affordable Housing Trust?
Yeah, you
submit
should
that,
apply
or
for
we
it every
just
year.
Naturally do
Yeah,
it.
you
For them?
should. You should. It's perfunctory, but it should be easy. But you should apply for it.
Okay, but historically, have they been?
There was a time for a couple of years after Ann Morgan left that it didn't happen. Last year, I think Fiona did it.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're doing it. If
Right.
that's how we're going forward. Okay, because I wasn't aware, so I'll bring that back to the trust.
It should be an easy application, though, Colleen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll even do it.
Okay, so with all that done, with the bond payments made and the reserves reserved, and then the available funds that can be used by this committee to satisfy grants for all purposes is over $1 million, $1,090,000.
Can I ask you a question, Ken?
Yeah,
The administrative reserve, that can be up to 5% of our estimated revenue, right? Like we historically do 24,000, but it could be higher if we chose to do something in the future, correct?
yeah, we typically have been doing 24,000, and and in our experience, the actual amount spent is more like 5,000.
Yep, no, I understand that. But my question was, we can reserve up to 5% of the estimated revenue, correct?
I think so, but there's no purpose to do that.
So the
That would
purpose
just
would be is if we were to expand the role I was at the master plan committee meeting and there was discussion about creating a new position with the Affordable Housing Trust. And if that was somehow, combined with this role of the CPC admin, because it has a funding source, a significant funding source, that is a avenue that could be looked down in the future, correct?
Yes, but and I'll say that we have until, I don't know, a few months before, a month or so before the Springtown meeting to make that decision.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening in FY26. I'm just saying, like, this was master plan. We're talking.
I thought that they
Big time.
hired somebody in the planning department that's supposed to be doing that now.
So CMRPC had like this, I forget the exact word, but it was like a temporary position that came in and we took advantage of it. That has now expired, but it really highlighted how important that role was and how we really need a dedicated person for that role. So
No, but I thought that they just hired a person in either plan, it was like, it's maybe joint planning
Yeah.
conservation.
They
That's what's
they
gonna
did
be-
hire someone for more office support for planning, and I believe they are sharing it with the conservation as well. But that was to increase the throughput of those departments in a much needed way, and I don't know that there was any mandate or expectation that they'll be supporting like affordable housing.
right.
Because again, it's like, I haven't had any communications with anybody about this official, but I heard or understood that they could help support the historical commission or the historic district commission. And to me, those are important, but I think affordable housing is important too.
Right.
So, so I thought that's kind of what they were enlarging it from maybe part-time to full-time.
So I'm speaking from the conversation that the master plan committee
Right.
had, and that's looking far out. That's not looking like immediate, what's been happening, but the discussion was surrounding that there was a position that we got like for free, and it highlighted that the importance of that and how much that role was doing, and it could be filled. And so my mind went to this role that it has a dedicated funding source that can be as high as it, if we did it at the full 5% this year, that'd be up to $40,000, right? Not to say we would, we're not doing it this year. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm just trying to, plant the seed that there's a potential for that and a dedicated funding source that wouldn't hit the operating budget when there's a need, right? Like we have the ability to do something like that.
Were they looking at as a shared cost or that they were expecting CPC to fund it totally?
So this was the master plan. So it didn't get down to the specifics and how to do it. It was just more of like a big picture, like this would be great to have someday. And, and here's a funding source for it someday. So nobody's actively looking at it right now. I'm just mentioning it because it was mentioned and it would affect us.
Right, okay. Justin, do you still have a question?
Comment just that I remember us talking last year about the funding source for like the bond payments and stuff, and how I think last year in particular was coming from the general, our general fund. I just wanted to say that I agree with and support taking the bond payments out of their respective, spots. And I wanted to thank you for recognizing that as well, Ken.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay,
So
sorry
just
about
before
that.
we close, I wanted to recap this year that we are now in. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, the summary of 2025, which for the committee's purposes is over. We had, $1 million in that year, we had $1 million coming in, carrying over from the prior year unused. We had about $790,000 of revenue. So we had $1.8 million to work with this current year. We had the typical bond payments, but the grants that we did $1 million worth of grants last year. That's pretty good. And so that left a carryover. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that last year we did $1 million. This year we did $1 million worth of grants. There were a couple big ones. There was the Robinson property, the churches, and the Cisco was $194,000. So anyway, we did $1 million worth of grants last year, and this year we have less money to work with, but we have $1 million to work with. So that's good news. We're in good shape. Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Kristen,
Hey.
Jack,
Aye.
Ken,
All right.
Sandy,
Yes.
Colleen,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
John, I, Justin.
Aye.
Declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, the next item that Ken would like to discuss is, and I hope I gave everybody a copy of the draft agreement between the Community Preservation Committee and the Affordable Housing Trust. And Ken is going to lead a discussion on this.
Okay, so I've had a chance to look at this agreement, and I've been talking with Colleen about it, who is also on the Affordable Housing Trust trustee, and they have worked with an attorney to make some draft agreements. And in my review of the latest draft agreement, I can see three main areas where this committee should recommend some amendments to it. And on this sheet that we were looking at right here, if you can read it, I have just noted, try to summarize what the 3 points were. And the first one being that this agreement should cover all the grants going forward from CPC to the Affordable Housing Trust that have no specific purpose. And by these, I'm referring to the 10%, what we call the 10% grants. What I'm not including are agreements that we did, like for the rental assistance, the emergency rental assistance. That was a different thing. And that would have its own agreement specific to it. But this agreement is intended for all agreements going forward, and so that we don't have to have a new one every year. The agreement draft that we have is like our single grant agreements, and I think we need to generalize it for this point. The second point is that this agreement should specify that the CPC funds granted under the agreement should be maintained in a dedicated account, separate from all other accounts, particularly non-restricted funds, like, for example, the Polte Developer Settlement Grant, which was completely unrestricted. And it should also specify that the interest earned be credited to that account. That unfortunately hasn't been done, and Colleen and the accountant and I have been sort of working on that, trying to rectify that, but it's
So Ken,
I
if
think
you
I
go
see
to the
that.
top of page 2,
Yeah, it's right there.
it's worded explicitly that way.
Yep.
Oh, so, and my third thing is that the Affordable Housing Trust projects that use funds from these CPC grants that are, according, I'm going to quote the act now, that are used for the purchase, support, rehabilitation, or construction of community housing. Grants used for that must obtain an affordable housing restriction, and that's according to the act. The agreement is kind of squishy about that, and I think it needs to be specific. And there's a couple of other small details, including, how this agreement might be terminated in the future if it ever needed to be terminated. So, seeing these points, I'll move on to go walk through the agreement and talk about that. Now, I know that Justin is got a point, so why don't you ask a question, Justin?
Sure. So my overall thought, just and I'll let you continue as well anyway, is when it comes to agreements that are essentially legal in nature, that I tend to, if there's any chance that I have questions or might want to make changes, my general recommendation is that myself, or like in our case of CPC, empower a lawyer for our interest to look at this and, for the concerns we have, to see what their recommendations would be as far as legalese and what, if there's any further concerns that they see. I don't know offhand like who the Affordable Housing Trust enlisted as a legal person for them, if it was a town's legal counsel, or if we could use the towns as a committee, or if we have to pay for out of our funds to have a lawyer look at it, but that's my general thoughts. I think if the committee is happy with trying to address like the points you have or any other points the committee has without involving a lawyer on our behalf, that would be fine to me as well. I just wanted to just make that comment.
Okay.
If I may, Ken?
I'd like to address that when we're finished walking through it, but yeah, that's a good point.
So,
Colleen?
Justin, just so you're aware, the coalition has a grant agreement template on the website that they say all communities should base it off of. The attorney that wrote that draft agreement on the coalition website is the same attorney that the Affordable Housing Trust in Grafton uses regularly. So when we mentioned to Kathleen O'Donnell that we were doing this, she said, "Oh, well, I drafted that for the coalition. I draft these regularly for other CPC communities." So she's like steeped in these agreements. And you know, the concerns that Ken has listed, we did talk about, because we don't want to do this for each particular grant, for each particular project, and that's how a lot of these were structured. We wanted it to be a kind of one time. It seems like it might be a yearly thing, though, that we might have to do it with each transfer. I haven't quite figured out a way to do that. But again, to your point about the keeping funds separate and interest separate, that's in there. There's a termination thing in there. So there's all of your points that you made are addressed actually in the grant agreement already. So I just didn't know if there was like specific parts in the grant agreement you wanted to call out.
I have a
Okay,
question.
let's walk through the grant agreement. This is the grant agreement that you distributed. I don't know if it was you, Colleen, but this is the one that came to this committee.
Can I just, before you move forward, Jack has a question.
Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to say that the request that there be a provision that the trust shall obtain affordable housing restrictions on projects is also already in there on page 2, the
Yeah,
fourth point.
I just thought that the language was a little squishy, and it seemed to have a caveat later on in the agreement. So let's walk through and just look at what the agreement says.
Okay, and just before we do, I'm going to give the committee a history of this. So the Affordable Housing Trust has been working on this for months, and this is the iteration after a few different iterations that the trust went through to try to get it as, you know, broad but yet specific to Grafton as we could. This is the one that the trust voted on to send to us. It's not official. It's definitely still got wiggle room, and there's no timeline on this. So if we send it back and forth, like we have time to figure this out, which is good. Just in
Right,
case
we're
anybody had
not.
any
This
questions
is
on
not time critical.
This isn't going to hold anything up.
Nothing's
a
getting
transfer.
held up. So if you have any questions or suggestions, it's honestly like let's just keep sending it back. It's fine.
But not
Okay,
too
so
much.
this
We
is
don't
the
wanna have to
agreement.
do that.
Can everybody see it? I'm trying to make it big.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
You see?
Can we make it like red though? Like, so
Red?
Yeah.
Yeah,
old
anyway.
lady eyes
but-
don't love it.
Okay, so the agreement is got some markups on it, and it's using the tracking display of Word, Microsoft Word, and so it shows the original agreement is all in black text. Suggest areas that I think that might be omitted and replaced.
I don't
or
think
have-
you're working
have a
on the
strike through.
latest version.
Pardon?
That doesn't look like the latest version because that part where you have struck out town meeting voted under article, like that's not in the latest version. So you see where you have the blue font and then underneath where
I
it's
do. I see it.
yeah, that's not in the latest one that we sent to the trust. So you might be working on one of the older versions that I had shared with you, like you had asked. So I don't know.
This is the one that came in the email that both you, John, and I received.
Was that early on though, or was that
No, it was like a week ago.
okay?
Amber sent something and said,
Yeah,
could you please put
that's the
this,
latest iteration, but
on the
that doesn't
agenda?
have the town meeting vote in it like his does.
I think he's showing markups, and maybe
Yeah,
the
so
copy
the-
that you have isn't.
No,
so
the original that I marked up had that language
Yeah, like
in
he's
it.
trying to get rid of it, and I have it in here printed totally fine.
So if you print it and you take off the markups, it will not show up. So it's how the tracking tool works in Word. So it
I
depends
think
upon.
Colleen's point is that she's saying is that she thinks that the revision that that was given to John and I is not the latest one.
Or maybe to Sandy's point, when I printed it, I don't see it that way anymore because I'm holding a physical copy, so that could be it too. I don't know.
Well, we have a conundrum here.
It-
So I don't know what that agreement that you have, Colleen,
So
says.
rather than get hung up on whether we have the most recent draft or not, is if we're going to go over big picture items and
Okay,
rather
so-
than specific wording, to go through the paragraphs if there are things that you want to make note because we're obviously going to have to follow up with this next month to go over, and hopefully everybody's working from the same document that then you can make your whatever you call it
Oh, the markups?
your markups on
It's technically, pull it down, it's tracking.
your tracking. Yes.
I'm sorry, this is for how we do everything.
No,
I hate tracking.
yeah, because like even on the printout, it doesn't show town meeting voted under because I know we wanted to get rid of that because we wanted to.
Yeah, I
not
know,
have
yeah,
this.
I agree, Colleen. I was surprised to
always a
see it there because I thought we were going to get rid of it, and
Yeah.
I was surprised to see it still there.
Yeah, agreed. I think we're all in big agreement of that.
And if we have minor stuff, not to be discussed here, how do you want us just to, like, missing parentheses and, like, really basic stuff?
I think if everybody's okay with it, you could just send it to me and I'll filter it to the trust because that's how it's going. If it's minor stuff, but major
It's
stuff,
editorial, it's not
yeah,
substantive.
yeah. If everybody's good with that, just send it to me and I'll forward it to.
Unfortunately, I get to,
Yeah, I see you're very excited.
'Cause I'm looking at that paragraph that is in blue, if that's blue.
Yep.
Where it says submitted to the town clerk. When we submit our warrant articles, we submit them to the town administrator. Ultimately,
All right,
do they
okay,
get
so
submitted to the
that-
town
that's-
clerk?
yeah.
I mean, I don't.
The text in blue underlined was text I was suggesting to address the problem that I mentioned.
No, but
And
it's
not-
in
no,
the-
I'm not,
it's
we're not
in
insisting that
our
that be the
document.
language. I was just saying that it should say something like this.
okay,
Right.
well, it
And
does say that.
if it says administrator instead of
The
clerk,
document
it's
that
true.
they sent that I believe is their document says town clerk. I'm just, if we're trying to make it really correct, I want to make sure that that's the correct wording because we don't send our warrant articles to the town
It
clerk.
looks verbatim to what you have there, Ken, in our copy. It's just not blue.
Right, someone accepted it and it's part of the document.
Okay,
Yeah,
town
so we
administrator.
can-
Anyway, we need to do this sort of over again with the copy that Colleen is referring to.
Okay.
But in any case, let's just, the first point is that the copy that was sent to us did not have the changes in it, and it still says it's individual grants. So hopefully that will be taken care of in Colleen's grant, and this
Yep.
this issue will be moot.
Yeah,
Justin has a
yeah.
comment.
My overall theory is that the actual doc version that got sent to you, Ken, had the tracking in it already from when the most recent change the Affordable Housing Trust did. That's why this is probably appearing.
I did not see the tracking stuff wasn't there.
If you look at the packet,
Yeah, that's a good guess, but I don't think that was the case.
That's
In any
The
case,
other-
we'll figure
the other thought I
that
had-
out.
So,
Yeah, the other thought I
I
had
think we're
real
getting
quick is
lost
that
in.
yeah,
I don't
Like-
want to get hung up and spend a lot of time on, but we can't do anything about it if we really don't know for sure.
can
Yeah.
I
What?
make
Okay,
a,
so,
Sandy has the floor.
Wasn't-
Then
Yep.
Justin.
yeah, so can I just make a suggestion? The easiest way to do something like this with a lot of people is to have a shareable file where you write comments and you don't change anything, so that people that when you look at it, you'll see my name that says, oh geez, there's not a parenthesis here or whatever. It can be any minor or any of Ken's things. It might be easier. It's really easy to set up to have a shareable document.
Are you volunteering? It sounds.
I can do it. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can do it in OneNote. There's a bunch of different ways of doing it, and I'd have to just check with admin to see the best way. But it's
Only
easy.
question with that is how does that do with open meeting law? If we're all sharing a document, we're all putting our opinions in on it.
So yeah, I'm thinking it's kind of Then the only person that sees it is the administrator, and then once it's all done, then she can share it at a meeting. So
Okay.
I just
Yeah,
think I can send you stuff, and everyone can send you stuff. It's just trying to think of an easier way to,
Agreed, yeah.
the process, just because. Go ahead.
So do you
I'm done.
mind?
What I was going to suggest, which is similar to what you're saying, Sandy, but the idea is I think the comment situation runs the risk of open meeting law. Like if it's not set up correctly by accident and everyone can
Yep.
see it, or even if it's just John that can see it, but he never checks it. But if he had the access, it could be an open meeting law issue. What we've done in the planning board is when someone does a markup, like if it's multiple people who want to do it, sure, they can do a markup version, with the tracking and PDF the tracking, and that gets added to the meeting materials. And if anyone has individual comments beforehand, they send it off to staff, and the staff will put that into meeting materials for the open meeting, or we can discuss it in the open meeting. And I think for me, trying to follow track changes, even like this, even if it was the most up-to-date version, it's pretty hard for me to process and understand it. I would suggest that any changes Ken wants to make, we put it in a tracked version that gets put into the next meeting's materials.
Yeah,
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, it sounds like Colleen is indicating that the document has been updated from here and may have far fewer things, to be of issue to this committee, and that's a good thing. So I guess what we can do from here perhaps is to just take the discussion of the points that we care about, which I listed in just this page, and perhaps
Something that I noticed,
to that page, this
that-
page right here. Maybe we could just Colleen could distribute the version, the final version, the correct final version, and then we can consider that version with respect to these issues, and hopefully they'll all be addressed.
Colleen will get that to
So the-
Sandy,
So
and then say,
I would go with Justin's recommendation. And again, I'm thinking just from a corporate standpoint of
Yeah.
being super efficient. I don't want to mess with open meeting laws.
Right.
So that I understand. I think his suggestions are a little bit more realistic.
So to be clear, the Colleen version, the one that I'm looking at that I printed out today, is the one that's posted in the CPC packet. That's
Yep.
I have the CPC version, not the Colleen version. And everything you have listed here, these 4 items, are explicitly called out in the one that's posted in our packet tonight.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because I didn't get the packet. I did this before the packet was distributed.
Okay. Okay. So yes, how can I get a picture of that so I can send it to you? Hold on, please hold.
can you forward
I can
that?
send this. I can send this one
Forward
page.
in the packet?
I can
I
send this
do
page
that,
to
but
the
I
committee.
want this because this isn't going to be in the packet, and then I can just answer all of his questions. Here we go.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, good.
To go back to the document, I had a question regarding, it's on the second page, item 4, paragraph 4, and it says that the trust shall be permitted to use no more than 10% of the Affordable Housing Trust funds for salaries, appraisals, so on and so forth. If our restriction is 5% in CPC, why is this 10% once we give it to the trust?
Because it's a smaller amount. So 5% of almost $1 million versus 10% of 75,000. You know what I mean?
But it's still, it's a large percent, is what, in terms of the total dollars. Of the
It's
money.
also
I just don't want it to be top
it should
heavy, that
align.
we're not, I'd rather spend money on projects rather than overhead. And I know you have to have overhead, but
Okay, Justin?
I don't know
yeah. I
where
think
that number
for
came from.
for me I'm okay with 10%, and for the idea that it also talks about specifically surveys, title examination, legal fees. Those are all critical pieces of actually securing and building affordable housing. I think that is a aspect. I wouldn't even, if we were doing 5%, I would take out the appraisal, surveys, title examinations, and legal fees out of the thing. If we're doing 5%, if we're covering just administrative and salaries, sure, 5%. But if we're covering surveys, title examinations, etc., I think 10% is okay.
And if that's the case, is that enough to cover appraisal surveys, titles, so forth, legal fees?
I don't know. This is our first time doing it. So if we have to come back and amend it, that's just something we'll have to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not enough.
That's my concern.
Based on 75.
I'm just
I
thinking
mean-
legal fees alone.
I mean, so then
I'm thinking of a title examination.
do we get rid of that line? Do we not limit it? Because at the end of the day, it's all going towards affordable housing. The Affordable Housing Trust is never just going to go have a pizza party at Chuck E. Cheese.
Right.
Like, they're not doing that. They're always going to be doing
I think
something.
one way to do this is to just leave salaries in there at 5%, so you capture that you can actually have help, admin help to do something, and there's a set, even though it's 5% of whatever. But I would take out everything else, because that should come out of, that doesn't have a limit on it, would be my take on it. Because, the appraisal surveys, title examinations, legal fees, you're gonna have to, follow other requirements of the town of getting those services. You can't just randomly go out, depending upon the cost of it. But by putting it in this line, I think you're limiting yourself.
Okay.
Colin, was
and
that
I
language
don't
in the
know the laws
template?
well
I don't
enough
know
to
where that, yeah, I have no, I do not know where that language from where it originated. Was that in the template?
That's a good question. Let me pull the template up. I know we started with the template. I wish I had my Affordable Housing Trust binder. Should have brought both. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second if you want to move on to the next point, and I will pull it up.
May I make a comment on that
10%
10% as well?
Is that Jack?
Jack, yep.
Yes, okay.
I just wanted to say that on the housing authority, when there is a limit put on certain types of expenses, it has caused some harm to us as well when it comes to, obviously it's separate things, but when we're talking about legal fees being able to amount up and stuff, when we've had to do renovations and kind of completely flip uninhabitable units, we get to a point where we're approaching 10,000 and now we have to go out for bids, which completely stops everything. So I would be in favor of maybe looking at removing or at least increasing limits.
Anyone else?
I agree with Sandy's recommendation.
That the 5% should be because that's to me like with that, and that's, I was looking to what we do. If it's
Right.
for a salary thing, that would be my concern, because other things you don't have control over.
Correct.
Salary you can control, and we don't necessarily going to need a huge salary, but
Just-
the
You're just
project may
aligning,
require it.
yeah, but you're just aligning one specific item on salaries
Right.
to this document, but you're trying to take out everything else so they don't get hung
Right.
up and so
Right.
forth.
Which I think accomplishes what Jack is talking about too.
Yep.
I'm not seeing it at first blush, and I'm going quick and also
okay.
trying to listen. So I don't.
Well, we can talk about it more next.
Yeah. So I will
meeting,
look
but just
into that.
to restrict the 5% only to salaries. The other language would drop out.
Okay.
It's item 4 at the very bottom.
On the.
Page-
Coalition.
Page 2, item 4, very bottom.
Oh no, I know that. I thought you meant on the coalition website. That's where I was looking.
Excuse me, I've got a point. Colleen,
Ken,
I was just looking at the copy of this agreement in the packet for this meeting. And that agreement in the packet is this agreement with the revisions accepted, or rather the revisions
Yeah.
shown
It says.
directly. So that is the packet with the blue marks on the page that's being shared. As if it's it's the version with the comments that I made in it directly. And so
Yeah, we
we are
understand that.
confused here.
We drew that
Because-
conclusion too, Ken.
Yeah, if you take the tracking here and you accept all the
Okay.
if you were to accept all of the agreements, then you'd have the one that's shown in the meeting packet. So
Yeah, you want,
if
Do you
we
want to? I'll pull something up.
show,
are you on here already?
I'll just read it. So I can in the
show all,
sorry,
if
I
you
don't
show
want to
all markup, it's all there. So
Okay.
I think,
Colleen
that-
wants to make a comment.
yeah, go ahead.
in the draft agreement that's on the coalition website, there is a line that says no more than 10% of funds can be used for expenses related to the administration and operation of the trust. It's that is how they have it worded.
So we are, all right,
So we're over on ours. Do you guys want to go into the way it's worded in the template? Suggest that, or do you want to suggest what we've talked about tonight, 5% on salaries? Because the 10% came from the template.
I mean, just this is more of just an overall question. I don't know how important from a regulatory standpoint and from, practice that it should be aligned. I don't know. I just don't know enough about to make a,
And I'm not the king of memory. I think it might be 10% for admin,
for,
not 5.
For us?
for
Yes.
CBC.
I mean, I could be 100% wrong, but that's for some reason that's sticking in my head that
Because
was
there's 10% for the other buckets, but I'm pretty sure admin's 5%.
You think it's just 5? Okay, I just didn't like.
I wouldn't like bet you on it,
No,
but I'm like,
no, I
pretty
mean, I
sure.
wouldn't bet either, but it's just like there's something in my head that's.
I'll find it
I'm
later and
not
I'll text
100%.
you.
And to me, that would, I mean, I don't know, but why would they say, the coalition have one amount one place and one in another? I don't know.
I think it's because the bucket sizes, right? The bucket size for the 5% is much larger than the bucket
the
size for the
entire
10%.
bucket, right,
Right.
okay.
So I think that's why, if I had to guess.
And one's the state law. I mean, that's the 5%, that, whatever that,
The 5% is a lot.
It's- right,
This is
this is a
whatever we want to do.
suggestion,
We can make
right.
it 30%.
It's a
We can make it
policy
no
that we-
percent.
it's-
This is an agreement.
Yeah, exactly.
So
One's
it's
a law.
only,
one's a-
it's only enforceable if it's signed by both parties.
right.
Okay. All right,
Like
so,
the whole point is to just dot our I's and cross our T's with this, not to create hurdles or conflicts or barriers between the
or
two committees.
tie hands.
Right, exactly, and that would be unfortunate if we were to do that.
Because
So
you don't want, that's the whole reason we give you this money in advance, is that we don't want you having a project that's, comes tomorrow, and then
Right.
you've gotta wait either a month or 6 months for the next town meeting to get the money, and then it's too late.
yeah,
So that's the whole point of the way that we handle this.
yep.
This
Okay,
is really
so-
just documenting everything.
Okay, so,
I'm gonna say if everybody agrees to try to use the more generic language that's in the template, that's what we would like to suggest to go back to.
okay,
Okay.
and then for us to share the comments so that we're all on the same page on how we're gonna do that. That, what Justin had suggested, how do we implement that?
Are we asking me this?
My,
Don't ask to me.
okay, so my understanding, Justin can jump in, my understanding basically is each individual member has the actual document. We mark it up and we send it to admin, and then admin will pull it together. Is that about right, Justin?
Yeah, that's about right. And I don't know if everyone on this in the CPC has access to Microsoft Word, so maybe having both sent out or available as a PDF, which is in our packet, and the Word doc, either way would be fine. And even if we just put an email letter saying, "Here's our suggested changes
Yep.
to admin," I think that's okay too.
Yeah.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I have Bluebeam, so I can actually not only mark it up, it tracks everything, and it actually tells who did it and when they did it and everything else. So
Yep.
I'm
Can I
pretty
make
flexible.
a suggestion? We're gonna meet again on February 20th. Can we all say we'll get our suggestions to Beth before Valentine's Day? That gives her just a week to compile everything she receives, so she's not getting things hours before the meeting and rushing. Like our internal deadline for Beth is Valentine's Day. Like, here's your card. These are our suggestions.
No, I work on deadlines. So if you want to get something from me, give me a deadline.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's what. Yep. that's,
Are we getting a new copy of the document, or are we supposed to work off of this one?
I'd like to address that.
Go ahead.
When Colleen said that this agreement that I'm showing with the markup is not the one that was in the packet, she's a little bit correct and a little bit incorrect. It is in fact this document, but it's this document without showing the revisions. If you look at the screen right now, you can see it shows revisions where it starts like here from time to time. And it shows.
Revisions by whom?
It shows the
All
town.
of them that were submitted.
They're
By
just
whom?
suggestions.
probably the
Him.
people.
It shows the town meeting voted being deleted here.
Right-click on
But
it and
so if I go up to the top of the screen and I
Mm-hmm.
look at the markup
Exactly.
and I say, don't show the edits, just show the result.
Yeah, show the result. What does it look like?
And I click simple market, they went away.
Oh, that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at.
This
and
is, in fact, this version that's being displayed right now is the one in the packet.
Yes.
It's not, and so the one that was sent to us by the Affordable Housing Trust is the one without any markup, which is showing no markup. Well, how does that work?
Probably because that's what the trust voted to send you. You didn't need to see the
one the trust
markups.
voted us to send us is the one that is
Okay.
shown here, just the black text. The one that the trust sent us has the word whereas town meeting voted article blank of the blank.
Yep.
That's the trust sent us that.
So yeah, we get that, and if you actually click on that blue area, it'll tell you who added that.
Yeah,
But we
and it was
don't
me.
need to go
I'm
into
just
that
saying,
depth.
There was the only person who added stuff to here was me. So
Yep.
these are all my suggestions, and that's why I'm kind of trying to
everything, yeah,
tell you
that's-
what they are. I'm trying to present what my suggestions are to the committee.
Yep.
And so the committee needs to consider these collectively and individually and make their own suggestions.
But if that's the case, you need to submit that to Beth so that everybody on the committee can get it.
And the
We
answer
don't
is,
have that.
Beth has this.
No, she does not.
Well, I think that when she distributed it, she
No, what you
distributed.
sent me does not have any of this in there, and I think I emailed or texted you that.
If you have, do you have the Word document?
I think this is
You can go
this is
back and
going
open
down
them
a
again.
rabbit hole of technology, and I think we all can figure this out outside of this meeting.
Okay.
There's definitely, I use this all the time. I'm more than happy if someone has a specific technical question on this, happy to answer it. So, but I don't think we need to go into the depths of that. We understand what's going on.
If Ken wants us to see his,
It's the same document,
Comments.
John.
Almost.
It's just
But, so we don't.
one
we-
isn't
here,
showing the
John,
changes.
We don't get to see
But if we-
Ken's comments.
we need
the
to see
same.
his comment.
No,
It's the
no,
same
John, no,
document.
we
You can
don't.
see
No, we don't. We need to submit our comments individually to Beth. Beth is the only one that will see everybody's
Correct.
comments.
Open meeting
and then
law.
Until Beth
the
will
meeting.
compile that
I
for
mean,
us.
for
Then we'll see
tonight, that
everybody.
was.
For tonight, I think we
was-
could just pass
were
over it
hoping.
Yeah.
unless he hit his four
Yeah.
or five on that Word document, which are already all addressed. So I don't think we're an issue with that. Every one of his major concerns that he had in that Word document are addressed in here explicitly. So that's all check. We're good there. Now it's down to parentheses or little, tidbits like the 10% salary thing,
Right.
which we'll all send to Beth by Valentine's Day. And then we'll talk about it at our next meeting. I think that's the best way to handle that.
It's on my calendar Outlook. I'm done.
There you
Yep.
go.
I think the only clarifying piece, Colleen, from my understanding, is what is in our packet is what Ken had edited to what his opinion was. It is not what the Affordable Housing Trust had voted to send us and approve. That's the only clarification point I want to make is either you're comfortable with what he did and you want to bring it back to the Affordable Housing Trust, or we want to wait and do it that way. But it might also be beneficial if the committee has the original Affordable Housing Trust copy as a PDF in some way.
I could have
And-
sworn Amber sent that out after we voted. I
She
really,
did send me something. I did get something from Amber with it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
I don't remember seeing it, but I might have just missed it in my email. But
This
on
one started
January
with the one Amber sent.
13th, Amber
This one
sent both CPC and the Affordable Housing Trust an email saying that they
Right.
developed the grant at their meeting, they voted to submit it, and it's attached there. So I will forward that to Beth to re-forward out to all of us.
And that's only 2 pages, whatever those 2 pages might be.
Yeah.
Right,
And
and
anything-
that's the document from which this started.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
full document, John. It's,
Okay.
And just to kind of go back to the whole open meeting, we've already discussed all of Ken's changes here at open meeting, so.
Yep.
So there's
Exactly.
already been a discussion on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, these are my suggested changes.
Yep,
Okay, so everyone,
well, good.
I just sent it to you.
February 14th, all suggested changes sent to Beth. All right.
got it.
So you're also going to redistribute the unchanged document?
I just forwarded it to Beth for her to forward back out to CPC, the one that Amber sent to us.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, then I have nothing more to say about this subject tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay, and just let me interject. I need to leave the meeting. We still have a quorum, right?
To make sure.
We want to make sure that you're not the host before you do that.
We have a quorum,
He can
yes, Ken.
leave
Yep.
the-
Without
Okay,
any-
But he
But
can't
he's
leave.
he's
We
hosting.
want to make sure he will shut
No, we
down.
don't lose- I
Zoom
know.
shows Beth as the host.
I was just answering his
Yeah, I was
question.
just gonna say, it's, I'm host, so
Sure,
she's all
okay.
set.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Ken.
And I just have one more thing to report when you come to the projects, that the Grafton Land Trust has completed the baseline report, and it's in the process of getting the approvals by whoever, all the people that have to sign off on it. And so at the next meeting, I'll bring, they'll submit a copy of it for the next meeting.
Which baseline report, the original one or the new one?
It's for the second Robinson purchase.
The one that we just did?
No,
The one that
It's-
was, no, the one that was.
it's the one in the
approved-
middle of the
The one,
agenda.
the one for
Yeah,
which the
got
sale
it. Yep.
finally did close.
Okay.
So it's the Robinson, the recent Robinson purchase number 2 of 3. So I know that we've been asking about that every month, but it's finally done. So, thank you.
Thank you. I had a note,
Hey, Ken.
do that.
Okay, good night.
Okay,
night.
Oh, let me undo all this stuff here.
I'm gonna pass over the introduction of a new member because we don't have one yet, because she was not able to be appointed at the selectmen's meeting earlier this week. I'm not sure about the minutes, that some of them were, I don't know, were they in the packet or not, or, cause there's,
I didn't put any in
Confusion.
the packet, cause I didn't know
And
which one,
just-
and plus the
just-
packet was just so.
just to address everything, Beth is back with us, in case you didn't notice. The last time we said goodbye, and in the last few days, she decided she is back at Board of Health, which enables her to stay with us. And so as of yesterday, she's back with us. So this was kind of a very quick transfer to get things back. So
I will,
it's
you know
more.
what I'll do is I'll split the minutes up that are complete and send them to everyone and they can look at them and then I'll put them in the packet,
Okay,
if you wanna do it that way.
that sounds good. All right. Agreement. Okay, project updates. Anything on archives?
No, and, with Candy leaving, I'm not gonna bother whoever, has anyone been hired yet to?
Do you know?
I know we have, his name just ran out of my head. We have an interim
Mike?
town clerk. Mike is the interim now. So he's handling it. I know Candy is going in and helping, I don't know what the official title is, but she's coming in and doing like a little bit of a mentoring through the transition process. So,
What's
I know
Mike's-
Candy's still kind of available, but kind of not. So I don't know if you want to touch base and see if there's an actual handover to Mike.
I would.
I just don't think it's gonna be a priority for
Well,
Mike to
I would
focus on
think
this.
for Candy to close out, we need to know if she has projects, if she's kind of at a point to where she didn't take new things. Do you see what I'm saying? That is there somebody within that office following, if there indeed documents that are being conserved.
Did-
And if not, it's not an issue.
I can reach out to her, even if I can't get through the town, email, I have her personal.
Okay.
email. So, what is Mike's last name though, do you know?
I was good to
The
remember.
town
Mike.
clerk, Mike.
Mike, the town clerk.
Give me a second.
All one
Let's
word.
see.
.com. Did we vote to extend the sunset on those projects? We did. Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Because there's a sunset that's gonna have to extension that we're gonna have to do, but we'll talk about that at the next meeting.
While you're, just as a note for you, Paul, while you're talking to the town clerk's office, the website still says Candy is the town clerk.
I'll let them know. When was her last official day?
December.
December 31st?
No, early December.
Early December. Right.
I don't see any. I can't pull anything out.
I'll have an update next month.
Okay. Gravestone's still on hold till the spring. 95 North Street.
I spoke to Adam at our recreation meeting, and he was gonna get me something a little more formal, but hasn't pulled that together yet. But he had discussions with the town manager, who confirmed that the scope isn't changing. They're offering what they originally proposed. They were able to work some agreements out with DPW to do the work, and Sandy
I think
has
last
some
time,
information about
last
the
time we had
pavilion.
a discussion about, the the structure on the site. And that, you know, instead of going from stick build, going to a prefab, there was a lot of money there. So my understanding from that discussion is that they're within budget with the same scope. And then, of course, DPW coming back into play of doing in-kind. So,
I'd sent, and I should have sent it to you too. I just sent it to Fiona because I stumbled across a grant that was available for AAA of all places. That was for accessibility and those kind of things for recreation. And the response was that they thought that they had this pretty much budget. You know, the budget was okay for what they were going to do. So
Yeah, that's
I'll
that's,
the
that's the
information
last
that
I
we got.
heard.
And the only thing Adam said is that we would probably be looking for an extension to the sunset.
that's I could do with somebody. Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Jack, do you have any update on the Gallagher rental assistance?
Yeah, I have the award letter signed. I'm gonna have it. It'll be brought in tomorrow.
Oh, we've got it.
Already had all set?
Mhm.
All right, perfect. Then, no real update on the spending. It's one of those interesting things where you kind of, it's like, oh, we haven't had to use it yet, but then in the back of me, well, it's a good thing because at least no one's needing it right now, but it's there. We have our policy in paper, and everything's going well. We now have we have taken Candy. She's now a part of our staff, and we're very happy about that.
Can you ask her about the records? No, I'm just kidding.
That's where she ended up.
So we were just chatting about that. Mystery solved.
Okay. And then Ken just mentioned that the we're going to call it Robinson Property Number 2 baseline report. The work is completed, and right now they're just seeking signatures.
Can I ask you a question about two projects that aren't on here? The library and the Baptist church. Last time it was, I know, I see that they're taking off, but the last time it was, there were still final invoices out there and there'd be turnbacks. Do we have updates on either of those projects about turnbacks or anything like that? Or can we get that for next
We
meeting?
can get it for
Okay,
the
cool.
next meeting.
Because I feel like the cupola should have a healthy turn back.
Because they used some of their money that they had raised.
They raised a lot of money, and since we're last, and it came under budget, so
I know that they're doing interior work, but that really wasn't part of the project, I don't believe. Like the painting of the ceiling, that isn't finished just yet, but the cupola itself. It
well, I
looks-
mean, they'd have to submit an invoice, right? Like, in,
No, but I mean, but I don't think that was part of the project, was the cupola itself, not doing the painting inside.
I think you're right.
I'm sure there's nothing on Cisco, right?
I haven't heard anything. I also haven't reached out in a few months now, so I don't know if you heard anything or seen any invoices recently, John. But
I haven't, but
I
I
haven't.
I think that's another one of those. They've got mass historical funds that are going to be used first, and
Yep.
right now it's the dead of the winter, and I don't think they're really doing a whole lot. So
Yep, I think you're right.
is the RFP still out, or no proposals came back on that?
I have not heard an update on that. I will reach out between now and next meeting to see if I can get a response, just to get an update on the RFP status.
Thank you.
have you any Congo Church?
No, I'm planning on following up with them during February, because the last update I had was in November, and they didn't have any decision on what they were going to be doing as far as
Well,
the
They have
deficit and funding.
applied for additional funds, so that kind
They
of
did
is
submit an
yes,
application.
So that is
Okay.
kind of an.
They didn't
additional-
tell me that. When did you get that application?
Just got it right.
It's in the packet, yeah.
It's in the packet.
I was like surprised not to see them
I
here
couldn't
tonight, 'cause
open the
I-
packet, so
What?
wait.
yeah, I will take a look at that and ahead of my conversation with them. But that was going to be my question: are they going to be applying?
Because I think they were able to get the numbers for the steeple. I think that was the big.
Yes, they have to get the lift
Problem.
back out there and get back up there. So, thank you.
When
Well, I can
you-
get into it now.
When you reach out to them, Paul, can you just ask, and I'm sure I'll ask when they get here, the amount of the project now, does that include the funds that we gave them already? Because they say they have other funds, like a healthy amount of other funds. Is that including last year's grant? Is that their other funds?
The CPC grant, you're saying? Or
Yeah.
CPA, I should say.
Yeah, so they had that, and then they have like 40,000 from like a church fundraiser and 10,000 from private donation. So it's close to that number. So I just wanted to, or did they get a substantial amount of other funds, which would be
I haven't heard anything, but I haven't talked to. I've only talked to one person who's not really involved, because I asked. She didn't know.
yeah.
So, I would say that this is piggybacking on the original funding.
That would be my guess, but
That they're just seeking additional funds and including that as additional funds.
And then just like a technical question going forward, if we're doing projects with churches, should any member of CPC that attends these churches, should they be filing disclosures and or recusing themselves from votes?
If you want.
I don't know.
mean,
It just feels
So when it gets into the ethics, and I know it mostly from, engineering and what's a conflict and all that kind of good stuff, and what we do here when we have to do the every other year thing. My understanding, unless you have a financial responsibility or a financial agreement in place, and that either you have power over them, which is not bad, but if they have power over you, it's more that.
But,
I
like,
go
let's
I go
say-
by the rule of thumb. If you feel uncomfortable at all, sometimes the perception of conflict is enough for me to recuse myself. That's
Right.
a personal opinion.
But like, let's say I went to this church, and I want it to look nice for my daughter's wedding next year, and I want to use CPC funds to make sure it looks nice for my daughter's wedding next year. You know what I mean? Like, just to be.
do we have any members of?
That's what I'm asking. I don't know.
I'm not a member of any of the three.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's always good to ask those type of conflict of interests.
Yep.
And there's some that is regulated or that's explicit as far as the state goes, and then there's more just
Okay.
is it an appearance of one, and
Right.
then that becomes more of a personal choice.
Okay.
So, but I mean, if you were heavily, to me, if I was heavily involved in,
But I would say you can't
That-
just, you don't want to limit it just to churches. It's like if we're gonna
Any
give money
group.
to the Historical Society, are you a member of the Historical Society?
So,
Yeah.
You know,
I
Is
had to
that gonna-
recuse myself when Apple Tree was,
Yeah.
getting
See, that
there.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just didn't, because we do a lot of churches now and we haven't had that conversation. So I thought it was worth just having the
That's a
conversation.
good point.
so yeah, the other thing which happens to me a lot at Concom is that there'll be a consultant that comes in that I've worked with them in the past, right? That doesn't mean, if I know they're a sub-consultant to us, I recuse myself and leave. Our example is Tufts. We do budget work for Tufts, so whenever they come in front of us, I leave. Otherwise, like if I have a relationship with a consultant that's coming in, I disclose it. So I think that disclosure is the big thing.
Yeah.
Is to say, this is my relationship. I will even ask the applicant if that's an issue or anything, because I don't want to be the
Right.
reason something, whatever. So there is that also. There's a disclosure of it, and it's in our meeting minutes, so that it's always very open and transparent. So that would be another way of,
Yeah. I was thinking disclosure would be
yeah.
the more
and
appropriate.
typically these aren't issues because these are town-funded projects on town-funded property.
Except
we're-
for
yeah.
the
Well,
churches that we're
churches.
talking.
No, but I'm saying that those are
Been more than
the
that.
exception.
Yeah.
That have, it's typically, we're funding town-owned properties. So that we really don't have that issue. It's just more recently that we're seeing, especially these are fairly large dollar amounts,
Yeah.
for these, the three churches,
think
like the Unitarian Church, that's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
I think it's a good discussion, because
Yeah.
I do think about it when I'm, depending upon,
because that's all three on the common right now that
Yeah.
have received or did receive.
But it's also good to know to just be like, yeah, we've talked about that, and we know to disclose if we are part of this, and now we've talked about it, and everybody knows. And Oh.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I just wanted to add. I think at least disclosure is probably the most important thing if someone was a member of one of these churches or groups that that matter, and just to the point on financial interests and responsibilities, such power over you. I know a lot of religions and pastors and such like cite lines from the Bible or things like that that basically say you should be giving X amount of your income or X amount of money in general to your church on a weekly or yearly basis or whatever, and that alone could be considered by some to be a financial interest. And again, I'm not saying anyone has any problem with in this committee or anything like that. I just wanted to just put that point out there.
no, yeah, I mean, I think it's always something good to discuss and to be transparent about.
Yep.
So,
The next church, Unitarian Lift Project.
If I can get this open again. So I think I told you guys last month that they had hired Andy Deshane to be their project manager. So that's really good. They've signed a contract with a company in Norfolk, Mass, to construct the Shaftway. And they have signed a contract with another company for the actual vertical lift, which will be installed inside that Shaftway. Right now, they have tentatively scheduled asbestos remediation for February 10th. Apparently, there's a heating pipe that has insulation around it that's in the way. So at this point, they don't yet have their building permit. So they're hoping that that will be issued quickly so that they can keep on track with that February 10th date. I did also get a question from them. Apparently, the AAB is requiring for them to get the variance that, it was part of the stipulation for the variance that they received, that they provide a assistive listening device in the Great Hall or whatever they call that, the space that they're trying to provide access to. And they were wondering if that could be covered under this grant. I told them I would take a look at the warrant article because depending on how that language is worded, we may or may not be able to do that. I did get a copy of it from a good friend over here, and it's very specific to wheelchair accessibility, so we cannot support that. I haven't communicated it to them, but I told them that I would bring it up at this committee tonight I'm assuming everyone agrees that we can't do that. I mean, it's very specific. It was a heading on it, wheelchair accessibility, and the language within it references wheelchair.
What's the dollar amount they need?
It's not a lot of money. It's going to be less than $1,000.
Oh, that's.
But is it worth applying, or is that not a grant we would do? Like a second one, like the Congo Church is doing?
I would think they could apply for it. Just it couldn't be under this grant.
But if
No.
they wanted to, tell them the
Yeah.
next application is
Yeah.
due
Next-
February 1st,
February 1st. Yep.
February week,
Yeah, they don't have a lot of time.
or whatever that's like. It's technically
Yeah, I will communicate that with them tomorrow.
the 3rd. Thank you. Okay, Assamasset Woods Bridges, they have completed the work. They've submitted invoices, and
I sent the.
I don't.
Just
People couldn't.
individual.
Did you?
I got it.
You did. You're able. Okay.
Yep.
I know you
I
said.
sent two.
you
If
couldn't?
you couldn't open the first,
Yeah.
the second one.
I couldn't, but I was doing it on my phone, so maybe my phone was just mad.
Because after I sent it out, I went back in.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't work.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, there's got to be. And I found a different way to send it so that you could have all the pictures in the second email.
Mhm.
So, because I kept getting 401 error.
Yeah.
404 error. So.
And then the last is the Robinson Land, which is the purchase of 179, 183. They received the check on 117, so that was last Friday. It was for $420,000. The total price was $430, but we'd already made a $10,000 deposit. There was an additional $345.23 for recording and filing fees. So I'm not real sure if the town administrator's office is gonna pick that up, but that has been paid, and so that's soon to be finished. Next, Affordable Housing Trust update.
Oh, you guys still want to talk about that?
No.
No, we didn't have like a full meeting since we've last met. We had a goals meeting, and we voted to send you guys the grant agreement. That's all we've got really going on right now.
That's a lot. Okay. No update on the signs, and no update on Lake Wildwood. That's kind of, I'm sure, just gonna wind its way through the family and the legal process to determine what the value of the land is. You know, whether it's you can access it across the railroad tracks or not. So
Can we talk about the website real quick?
sure.
The
Is it legal?
yeah, because it has
It's probably the thing I told you today, right?
what?
It's probably the thing I messaged you today to see if you found it, right?
Me?
On the website about. I'll let you go and then I'll jump in if I need to. Sorry.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah, it was sort of because treasurer's reports on here, and I was gonna talk about the treasurer's reports that they haven't been updated. The last update was from August, so
Oh,
if we
I
can
updated.
update those tabs, like the grant applications, none from 2024 are up there, and we're already starting to receive 2025 grant ones, like
That's
those
what I
buttons,
wanted
you
to
know.
Ask, do you want the actual application that was submitted up there? What do you want up there?
So I think as much information as people who are interested in learning about it. Yeah. So whatever they're submitting, like, so right now, if
Okay,
you went on the
this-
town website, there's, the CPC website, and then there's that side tab. So there's that treasurer's button, and they can see all the treasurer's report Ken does, but they're not getting, updated. So the last update was from August. Then there's buttons that say grant applications, like, spring 2023, fall 2023, and then nothing from 2024, and obviously 25 just started. The recently completed projects, that's super out of date, like 2021 was the last time. And we have all these great pictures we're getting, and, we're spending millions of dollars, like $1 million last year, so it'd be cool for people to come, see. And then the award letter is still not up there, so as we have new applicants coming and to direct them to the award letter that they're gonna have to be signing, having all that stuff on the website is going to be super important.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
One
No,
second, John.
Justin,
Oh, just
Justin, sorry.
The one thing I was gonna say too is, Beth, did you get up? I know you before you were initially leaving our group, that you had said you got to put the project agreement form on the website and online.
She just mentioned
yeah,
it.
that's the award letter.
Oh.
Sorry.
Whatever. Sorry, I was
Am I
thinking
putting
of
just
different
the
phrasing.
template of-
Yeah,
Okay.
because last spring, a couple of the grant applicants, once we presented them the award letter, they kind of got a little bristly about it. They weren't expecting it, and then there were a lot of additional meetings about it. So if we could have that up there to, as they apply, say, hey, go review this. If they have any questions, they can bring it to us during that process. Would be better. Thank you.
you're being kind about the little bristly.
Huh?
You're being kind about the little bristly.
So,
Now, yes, I will move to adjourn, John.
so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Are you gonna arm wrestle over who's second?
Colleen has it.
Colleen
She
second.
beat me.
All those in favor? Whoop,
oh.
whoop, whoop, whoop. Sorry. Got in a hurry. Where's my list?
I think you just look around.
I know. Kristen,
I
Sandy,
Yes.
Paul,
Aye.
Colleen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
John, I declare the motion carried unanimously. We are adjourned at 8:20.